Welcome, Vergo, to the Institute for Advanced Astonishment. This is going to be a big one. No
I am
pressure.
so excited to be here. Yes, looking forward to this conversation.
Yes. We're going to cut right to it, and there'll be no fluff at all. And I was thinking, I was thinking maybe we could talk about the fears that, because I think about anyone watching who is on the fence and they're scared, and it's understandable. It's illegal in a lot of places. They made peace illegal. And also, once they finally take the medicine, a lot of times people do it wrongly. They don't know how to the set and setting, and then maybe at some point we'll get into what happens when you really take it the right way.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yes. So tell me anything. Like, what do you think about? What would you say to someone who's afraid to?
Yeah, that's a good question, though. It's a good question. And I guess that's the first point that I would point somebody to when this fear is arising and there's an awareness of the fear. And then it's like, okay, what's that fear about? It's like
Yes,
maybe to inspire them to generate a certain sense of curiosity about that fear. And
that's good.
then from that, I guess, can come an authentic curiosity about the psychedelic experience as well,
Yeah,
about the spiritual experience as well. And I feel that has to be the foundation for going into such a journey. That's kind of like part of the preparation and of the intention. It kind of like, at least for me, it has to come from the inside. Like,
love that.
it doesn't have to be like somebody else is telling you this is going to heal you and you have
Yes,
to do it, and then you're like, oh, now I have to do it and I don't know and I'm afraid, and then I do it, and then it's like it has a potential to go
yeah. What
vastly
did I
wrong, and then you blame the other person. It's like, this guy told me to go into this journey and it went all wrong and I was afraid and whatever. So but when there's authentic curiosity, like this earnest, sincere desire to look into this experience and to look into the fear as well, then I feel like that's a solid foundation on which you can engage in this practice. Because
That's
inevitably
beautiful.
the experience is gonna bring out all the fears. It's gonna it's
Yes,
gonna it's gonna bring them to the surface. So for me at least, it's every time again the process of really grounding myself and being ready and being courageous in being able to face that fear over and over and over and over again.
yes.
And sometimes it is hard, and sometimes it's effortless and blissful and peaceful, but it's worthwhile nonetheless. And I
I
guess
like
the
it.
fear, sorry to interrupt this.
No, no.
I'm just loving to go
Keep
on this
going. Keep
tangent.
going.
And the fear is also, it feels like it's a feature, not a bug of the experience, because inevitably it's a facing of the unknown. When we do engage in this practice, it's we don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows, and every time it's this plunging into the unknown. And
Yes.
obviously there's some sensation in the body or in the mind arising that's like, ooh, I don't know. That's scary, you know?
Yeah. What I've noticed is, if I don't know if you'll agree with this, MDMA might be the best first journey if you do it not at a rave, not with people, but you do MDMA in silent dark. That's how I started. I mean, I had the experience before, like 4 years before, because I was so ready to pop, and it happened. But then I needed to take the mushroom one day, and I was so scared. And then my teacher pointed me to the MDMA, and I was still scared of that. And the MDMA softened it. And even if you take that, and you have that first experience, it won't be as deep as the bigger, like 5-MeO or LSD or something, or mushrooms. But you could have this softening, and then maybe as you learn that, like training wheels, you could take the MDMA a week before or a day before. Some people take it right before the candy flip, but you could even take it, and because all the fear goes away, it really melts that fear within an hour, and you laugh at the fear, and then you could take the real teacher, the real substance. And what do you think of that?
Mm.
I saw your face right away go, so I don't know. I don't know if you agree at all. I don't know.
I like the idea, but I have a funny story with MDMA itself. I'm not that experienced with MDMA. I only took it once, and I started off on a very interesting foot with the substance itself. So I'll save that story for
young. Yeah, because I know you started at like 16, right? Young.
Yeah, I started at 16, but only with pure psychedelics, and then the MDMA came much later. I was always kind of like not even curious about the substance.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm curious about this one. But then I actually read the book Trust, Surrender, Receive by what's her name? I don't remember the name.
But the title again, Trust, Surrender,
and Other.
Receive.
Yeah, Trust, Surrender, Receive by Ann Other. And it was about MDMA therapy. And in that book as well, she kind of like displayed this concept that you just talked about, that for many people, it's a wonderful journey to ease into the psychedelic experience by starting with subtler ones, with cannabis, with MDMA, and then you slowly ramp your way up and you find your way into psilocybin, LSD, and then eventually DMT or 5-MeO DMT and ayahuasca. And that's kind of like the journey that one could take. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. If that feels right for somebody, and especially for somebody with lots of fear, where they want to ease into the experience, then absolutely, like, go about it. And especially I find MDMA in the therapeutic setting, it's a wonderful experience. It's a very, very wonderful experience. And I guess to that point as well, you could just, as I've been doing it, just start with the psychedelics as well, but just start with low doses. Right?
Yes.
I feel like it's not talked about often enough that people can just take low doses. People talk about 5-MeO DMT or NN-DMT, and it's always this image in the mind that this is the imaginary, this crazy breakthrough experience. You're going to meet the aliens, you're going to dissolve completely. And I've been playing around with low dose to medium dose 5-MeO DMT or NN-DMT, and it's just a very gentle, benevolent sensation. Sometimes even just in the body and slight visuals, and it's very kind. And you're like, you can, even with a vape pen or just smoking a tiny amount, you can ease into the space and feel like, oh wow, okay, this is what it feels like to start to maybe even just stand at the ocean, not even have the foot in the water, and then sometimes the waves that come, they touch your toes, and you're like, okay, it's water.
Words are in my first book. My teacher spoke to me and he said, now your toes, he said exactly that, are in the water and you're facing the ocean. And now you begin. And I had no idea.
Yeah, no need to go into the airplane and be jumped into the deep dive, you know what I'm saying?
Riptide,
yeah. So that's definitely possible. The reason I was making that face regarding the MDMA is for me itself, but I feel it's just definitely just part of my journey and my personality character type is I started off on the wrong foot with the MDMA, so I did take MDMA for the first time in a therapeutic setting, alone, eye mask, therapy playlist. It was a wonderful experience, but then, as you said, it evaporated all fear. And I had a concept in my mind, or heard it from somewhere, maybe Rick Doblin at a psychedelic conference, that you can combine MDMA with other substances, right? People do it with psilocybin, with LSD. Yes. And even I have heard with 5-MeO DMT. And in my being, like, I wanted to go into 5-MeO DMT for a long time. And I wanted to go all the way, and I haven't been able to smoke enough by just going into 5-MeO DMT alone. So it was a very high dose of MDMA, 270 milligrams or something.
Wow.
And
I think
then
I
went
100. You had 270.
That's
like 3. Wow.
I took like 200 and then dosed up with 70. Yeah, so it was high dose, and then I had no fear, and I went into 3 5-MeO DMT breakthrough experiences on that MDMA experience, and that was a bit, reckless, I would say.
Wait, you're saying you took almost 3 pills instead of 1, right? Like 300.
It was powder, yeah.
And then you mixed in, once the fear went away, you grabbed the 5-MeO. I just want to hear
Three
it right.
times,
Three
three times, full
Big
on.
puffs. And,
Yes.
and
The experiences were good and beautiful. But afterwards, I evaporated my sense of self for about 3 to 4 months. So that was kind of like the first spiritual emergency where I didn't return from psychedelic space and reconstructed my sense of self and ordinary state of consciousness for a long time. And that was absolutely terrifying. And then there's discussion that even that combination, it's a bit unclear in the community if that's a good combination, if there's potential for serotonin syndrome or death, physical injury in the brain, or if that's actually good practice. Many practitioners are actually practicing it that way and find it safe and okay, but in a bit lower doses than I did. But you know, that was like, I knew that rule that when I do MDMA for the first time or any substance for the first time, I do not mix it. But the MDMA evaporated that sense of fear so completely that I was just very, very reckless. So I'm very careful with MDMA now, even though it's known as resentful.
Like I'm very cautious. So I would say do MDMA on a Wednesday and then take something on a Friday, and you'll still be riding that no fear. You still might have a little fear, but it would be maybe 50% or 30%. Rather than taking it together at 270 milligrams.
Yeah, you can do it definitely in a more responsible way, in a more gentle way.
But
and then there's the discussion about.
Sorry, what I love that you just said is anyone watching this with any kind of fear, you're really right there, and I'm here. We're still here, and you did 200. I did enough, and you did 270 plus 5 MEOs. So it's okay. You know, we're living proof that you get through it. But yeah, that could be a lot. But you'll survive it. You'll make it.
Yeah. And that's where I find, for me at least, regarding the integration of this experience, I'm not just about blasting off into the unknown and do that over and over again, but the integration of that experience seems to be very crucial. And for that, I found the frame of the spirituality very much crucial for my own path.
Yes.
So I can contextualize the experience and what's happening to my consciousness properly with these frameworks of many different traditions that are out there, with philosophical frameworks, to navigate this territory of what might be known as the dark night of the soul, a psycho-spiritual crisis. You know, there's lots of literature around that, where I found then solace and security and safety in navigating this space of like, okay, people have been here before. These are corners of the mind which are very dark or which are just very interesting, and to navigate that then is part of, or maybe even crucial to, this spiritual journey that I find myself on. And to value kind of like the truth and the self-realization and the embodiment of love as a foundation for the navigation and exploration of psychedelic experiences, I found is super nice and super helpful. It's kind of like something to fall back on, to properly integrate and move forward with. Because many people I met and many others are just completely lost then. It's like, okay, I've had this experience, I don't know what's happening, and I go to the psych ward and they give me pills, and I don't know how to deal with this experience. You know, it's like, it's too much.
Yes. Many mystics had without taking medicine, had a flash, and then they didn't walk into an ashram. Like, luckily, if a few walked in, you're good. But otherwise, you think you're going crazy, or, you know, so that's really important. So you're saying, and I think people know this, but it's great to keep saying it, the medicine can't be the whole thing. You have to learn to make it your baseline and integrate it without, you know, on a Tuesday afternoon.
This is where the real work begins, actually.
Yes.
It's that rainy Monday morning, you know, you have to take care of your survival. Kids are screaming. I don't know what's happening. You know, it's like, how do you deal with that? You know, that's where rubber meets the road. The psychedelic journeys is a beautiful training ground, but then to come back and serve your community, this is where.
And I love your the name. So people know, we'll put a link, but Psychedelic Actualization, because that's such a beautiful word. what was it, Maslow, right?
Mhm.
Actually, and I
Yeah.
think he was talking about these peak experiences, but how would you say you want to define it? Like your definition of this actualization through medicine?
Mm. Yeah. I don't even know what it's really about, but it is about this psychedelic actualization. So the idea was to utilize the psychedelic experience for the self-actualization and the self-realization. That was kind of
Yeah,
like my entrance into the space. I'm like, wow, these are powerful tools and substances and medicines that we can work with for not just for healing and therapeutic work, but for actual self-actualization and
yeah,
getting to know yourself and self-realization, getting to know yourself with a capital S, and then to actualize that as well, right? The integration of that experience, not just having the psychedelic experience, but actually, right, shifting your baseline state of consciousness, integrating it, actualizing your sense of self.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the core idea, and to have that angle and that intention onto the psychedelic experience.
Because it's really easy. Like I always quote Chesterton, who said, "Just because you're in a just just because you go to church, it doesn't make you a Christian." That would be like standing in a garage makes you a car. You know, it's very easy to do. Not easy, but you can do it in your bedroom or in the woods or something. But then the tire blows out, on Monday, or the girlfriend breaks up with you on Tuesday, and there's all
Yeah.
these things, and you have to be, you have to let it seep deeply into your bones. And how do you get it to make it your frequency, and
Mm.
so do you recommend, if someone never, tried it and they're curious, I would say meditate before, and maybe many of them are already meditating. Like have a position, have a, a routine maybe, and then add the medicine. Would you recommend that? Or
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of like falls into the space of preparation. And
yes,
there's an infinite number of things that you can do to prepare for such an experience. I always like to break it down into all of these factors that we have in our life. So you can do physical preparation, you can do mental preparation, you can do emotional preparation, you
yeah,
can do environmental preparation, social preparation, you can do
this is great.
spiritual preparation, right?
Yes, yes,
So all of these things play a part, and you can kind of like navigate all of these and prepare and integrate it in all of these different areas. So having a clear diet helps in a
it's
psychedelic
great.
journey. Really being taking care of your body, being in a good state of body physically helps in a psychedelic journey. Mentally, having frameworks, learning a bit about psychology, about the unconscious, about shadow work, all of this stuff helps you mentally to navigate the journey. Emotionally, I say breath work, being in nature, all of this really can tap you into psychedelic space again in a gentler or more natural way that opens you up emotionally, or even having that tough conversation with a loved one socially, just like have that before the
Yes,
psychedelic journey, not after the
yes,
psychedelic journey.
that's
Environmentally,
great.
clear up your space. I like to clean up my space before the journey, just have a very clear room, fix that thing on your
Perfect.
house that has been sitting there for weeks instead of
Yes.
right.
Wait,
That's the preparation.
can I add my first experience? That's so funny you say that. So beautiful. My car, there was an accident, and the bumper was like hanging off a little bit. And my teacher flew in from like Thailand, so excited that I'm going to pop it was just MDMA, but that was like big, for me. And we went to the Arboretum before in beautiful nature. That night we're going to do it. And he saw that I had kind of taped the bumper like it was hanging a little
Mhm.
bit. And he just went over to it. And just like you said, he cleaned it up. He pulled the bumper off because it looked so stupid with the tape on the thing. And he pulled it off. And he said, do that tonight. No head. Like
Mm.
just let the light come through and be dumb. Because I knew so much too much. And he said, "No, you're not the teacher. This is the teacher. Just be dumb and be open." And
Mm.
everything you just said there was so perfect. Social,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Clean up.
And
Sweetness.
meditation is one of the biggest ones. I found meditation is up there in preparation to navigate the
Yes.
psychedelic space. Breath awareness, being able to stay open, stay calm, learning to let go and surrender into the experience, open yourself up, embrace whatever is unfolding, trusting. All of these things are absolutely crucial. And meditation helps to cultivate all of these traits and characteristics
Yes.
and
Have a
abilities.
practice. Yeah, have a practice. My teacher always said you'll get your ass kicked if you don't have a practice.
Yeah,
It's true. It's true.
it
In
is true.
all
You
aspects
get your
of
ass
life.
kicked if you have a practice.
That's
It's,
right.
it's really like,
And when you think you're not going to get your ass kicked, you'll get your ass kicked.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Humility, big part of the
Yes.
of
Yes.
the journey. So the fear is actually good, if you're
Yes.
cautious and careful in engaging with the space. I'd say that's a good thing. Like honor that. That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes. My good friend who would take the medicine at the same time with me would always say, because he's a warrior, warrior. So he's like, no fear and fuck fear. And my teacher would say, that's a good recipe for a bad trip. But he really didn't. Like, he only had maybe one or two, and I've only had one. And those, you can even talk about that maybe now. The bad trip isn't so bad when you look back, right? Like, it's something that you could learn from.
Yeah, I feel, at least for me, my perception in any experience, there's something that you can learn from that. I would say there are trips that are a bit more quote unquote bad than other ones.
Yes.
And there are challenging trips. So there could be experiences where you just do lots of stupid stuff, and that could be framed or interpreted as a bad experience. Like this, I don't know, you're fumbling around outside on 600 mics of acid and you break your toe. That was
Ooh.
not a good idea. Like, that's a basic example for me. Or I've heard much crazier stories, just much, much crazier stories where people just went in a bit too far and they freak out. They're not in the right setting, festival setting, not prepared, being pushed into the experience, not handling it well, and then also not integrating it well. So that's like,
Yes.
I don't know if that's there's maybe something to learn from that, definitely, but it's not like, yeah, that might have been just a a bad experience. Or just
My,
something really bad happens. It's like it can happen.
my one bad trip I had, I was planning, like I was telling you earlier, to leave New York, leave everything, and just come here, one bag, and into Guatemala. So that's a big thing with a cat, and leave your life, your job, your car, your everything. And so my heart, my pulse was I felt like I was having a heart, like I was racing a little. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor at some point cleared me. He's like, no, you're good. So I went home and grabbed the mushrooms, and because I got a clearance, that's all I needed. But I didn't take it as sacredly. I was a little not cocky, but quick. And I wasn't set. I wasn't in the usual position. I didn't have beautiful monks chanting in the background in the beginning, my usual way, little music, and then I shut it and go. And all of a sudden the mushrooms came on, and I took a lot. During it, I said, wow, I'm taking a lot. Way too many. And the stems and the stuff, what's that? The crushed pieces, like at the bottom, like the whole thing. I felt it coming on, and I said, okay. And then I finally got in position, and it was not good for a long. It was like I was on a death ship. The house was death. Everything was death. I looked at my hands. There were skeletons. I actually had to dial my teacher, and he said, I could hear in the background, he's in a restaurant here in Guatemala laughing, and I hear ladies and clinging glasses. And he said, just on the other side of that fear is everything you know already. Just you have to get, and that helped, and boom, it popped through.
Yeah. Yeah, right. See, then I've also had some of these experiences. Then there are also just experiences which I can't just make sense of. and that's okay as well.
Yeah.
It's like not every trip is something beautiful, blissful, or extremely dark. Sometimes I just ate 4 or 5 grams of mushrooms, and then I feel a bit nauseous. I'm vomiting, and I'm laying around, the trip's not really starting, and I'm like, and that was it. And I'm like,
That was
I
it.
don't know what to take out of it. It's just like, it's good, it's not good, not bad, maybe.
Did it
It
hit you
just is what it
later?
is.
Did anything come from it like a week later, or that
Absolutely
was it?
not. Never.
Wow,
That was it. So that
that's a good
happens as
lesson.
well. Yeah. And then there are these experiences which you might have been pointing to, right? Which is commonly known maybe as a bad trip, but
Yeah.
which I might categorize as very, very challenging experiences, where it's just the deepest darkness, the deepest fears,
Yeah.
right? The integration work of that 5-MeO DMT MDMA blast off of being terrified for 3 months, fearing death or insanity, instability of consciousness. I had an ayahuasca ceremony which just really pushed me to the edge, right? It's just like really facing death and that fear of death, and where there's moments in the ceremony and afterwards where you're like, I will never ever touch these substances again.
You're done.
This is too much. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I would say that's a good experience to have, because these are the trips where now I look back on them. I'm like, these I learned from the most.
Yes.
These I grew from the most. Right, spiritually, emotionally. I was like,
Yes.
you always somehow come out at the other end, and you're like, wow, this
And you're
was such a
grateful to
learning.
be back. You can't believe, even though it was so bad, you kiss the ground. You're like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back.
Yes, yeah. And then there's lots there. Some of these experiences it takes years to integrate. Some I'm
Yes.
still integrating slowly. And that doesn't mean I can't go into more and more journeys still, but some of these bigger experiences, it's just they keep on, integrating it on a certain level. And these are inevitably going to happen as well, especially when you explore a bit further, you're going into the higher dosages, you're really doing longer
Yeah.
retreats or whatever. Then you can be sure that you'll come to a point where it's like, oh my, this is too much. Like, this is challenging.
So a question on like the breath work and meditation, which I think is so important. And I'm so glad you say that, because so many people like this Neo Advaita phase where they're just like, you don't need it, you're already there. And I get it. If you're ready to pop, it's great. Or for you and I, it's great, but not for someone who's suffering. They're like, I'm there. And it doesn't, they're like, really? And they can't understand that you're already there. It's not useful for them, So my question was, like on the holiotropic, I don't know if I'm saying it right, breath work or deep meditation, you know what the medicine could show you, that top of the summit of Mount Everest or the true non-dual. Do you think that breath work can actually get you there? Like, we hear of these examples. I love your smile right there. I'll just shut up. I'll go. That's it.
It's a beautiful question. It's a very, very beautiful question. I've chewed on that for a while. Absolutely. And my honest answer is I do not know. I don't know, because I can somehow only speak from my personal experience, and my personal experience at this moment in time is that there's a sense that some areas cannot be accessed just through the breath work or through meditative practices. Like some things, right? It depends on how we categorize and frame the psychedelic experience, right? If we go into 10, 20, 30 dried gram mushroom territory, I'm not quite sure if you can meditate your way to these alien galaxies. Yes, I'm really not sure. Like
You can
maybe
get a cosmic consciousness or a sense of oneness. I give that, but I think there are a lot of teachers out there that are great. I mean, the big famous ones that you see now, they're great, and then they'll knock the medicine, and I'm like, stop that. Like it's a pure, I don't know if they're trying to cover their ass, that they don't want to get sued by speaking of it, or, in case a student dies or something. But they they'll act like they get to the Godhead, like, like it's like easy, and just by playing around with little thought scenarios and letting go, and yes, you and I are saying no, that's wonderful, but maybe that teacher needs one dose of medicine to remember how far this goes. Like you could think that that's it. That's a thing. Maybe you could talk about. You take the medicine and it's just, you can't speak about it. And then on Wednesday, that's Friday. On Wednesday, you're speaking about it, and and then it becomes a little hardened, and it becomes like an idea. And then on Saturday, it's 2 weeks later, and you're riding this thing that isn't quite the experience. And a lot of teachers are there, like they're telling the truth and they're laying the map out, but the medicine experience is beyond what they need a little dose now and then, I think.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it reminds me of that, what was a Rumi quote or something, that silence is the language of God and everything else is poor translation.
That.
Yeah. And also it really does speak to the concept, well, it's not even a concept, the reality and truth of infinity. So that's something that the mind, it cannot grasp the reality of infinity. And well, it might be debatable, right, to what degree certain mystics and sages and people can access that non-dual 5-MeO DMT breakthrough state of oneness, right? That's kind of like what's typically described in the Vedas and everywhere. And so obviously there's also talks about demons and angels and all kinds of crazy territory that people are accessing. And I just don't know. I can imagine maybe very, very few, just tiny bits of people here and there might have accessed these realms. But
especially
then when we
nowadays.
Get to the especially nowadays more people are talking about it than actually doing the practice, myself included.
There's so much distraction now compared to when Meister Eckhart in the 13th century. It's way different.
Exactly. But then even Meister Eckhart or Neem Karoli Baba, I don't know what they might have been saying about Salvia Norum experience.
Yes.
What's that? Different substance, not just Salvia, but the other. There's Salvia Norum A and B, I think. And B is even 50 times stronger than A. And it's like, I haven't tried it, but people are experiencing just pure insanity. So to what degree does any kind of individual teacher, person, or mystic peeked into that infinity is something that is unknown to me, at least, or to you, maybe. It's like we just can't know. And then these psychedelics, they open, at least in my mind, this possibility of like, wow, there are realms of consciousness that I'm not quite sure how many people have accessed. Maybe there's a degree of this infinity that people got to through natural practices, maybe far into the infinity, but the nature of infinity is infinite, so it does go further. It does go beyond. Yes. And with the psychedelic substances, it opens up different doors, different sideways of this infinity that maybe no human being has ever experienced before.
And it's not, and the taboo has to go away. Like, it's not a bad thing. It's when you say, oh, I'm going to Paris, you never say, oh, how are you getting there? Swimming? No, they don't swim. They take a plane. Take the technology that is available you don't take a horse to Paris. You take a plane to Paris, maybe a train.
But that comes with its dangers. The plane can crash. Yes. It's all the technology.
Right. You're up in space.
Yeah. It's
but there's nothing wrong with taking the plane. Like, it's not a taboo. Like a Luddite that says no technology, no. The purists that say no medicine. Like, I like to say, and it hit me one day. A teacher takes it, someone takes it. They wake up, they go, holy fuck. Then they're on the roof, right? They're on the roof. So they take the ladder, the medicine that they climb to get on the roof. They take the ladder, they saw it, they make a throne out of it. They sit on the roof with the ladder, the thing they got there, and then they go, come on, get up here to the students. And the students are crying. And they're like, how do we get there, master? And the master goes, do what I did. Just do. And erases pulls the ladder away.
Mm.
Isn't that bad?
Yeah, and there's so many metaphors regarding the psychedelic experience as well, and none of them are complete, none of them are perfect, and there's lots of debates around it. It's like the ride up the mountain, for example. It's like, oh, it's not the same if you take the helicopter up the mountain, but if you really just are if you're just climbing up the mountain. But then there are so many different mountain peaks, and it's like it's just like maybe you can also do both. You can climb and fly at the same time.
Which you called 5-MeO DMT not even a helicopter but like a teletransporter, where you just and here's a big question for you, that like would you call it not even a helicopter but you're here and then you're there, like boom. And would you say I asked Martin this and I need your answer. On LSD, the Godhead, whatever you want to call it, the non-dual full space, it was what it is. And I'm saying that I think the 5-MeO, I have a friend that is saying the 5-MeO. I get that, yes, maybe it's faster velocity, it's the teletransporter, but my question for you is, isn't the non-dual space the non-dual space? Or maybe you're saying no because it's infinite space, that there's deeper non-dual spaces, that if you hit this space like on and here's the last part of the question, this is bad language, just forgive everything. Does earning it by going slow and having everything crumble on hour 2 of LSD, I mean in silent darkness, LSD hour 2 is so beyond words, and hour 3 is, oh my God. And then you pop through to this space and 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever. And DMT's 10 minutes and you're there. Which one sticks more in integration? And I'm not knocking the 5-MeO because I know it's the crown jewel, it's the God molecule. So give me the proof. Does it stick longer because it's so shocking and the velocity, or maybe the slow climb sticks longer? I don't know.
So especially regarding the LSD and 5-MeO DMT, as I understood correctly, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good question. Again, honestly, I do not know. And my experience with both 5-MeO and LSD is limited. Even though I've gone to high degrees of it, there's still, like, just from literature and from what Martin or other people are talking about, there's just much more for me to explore personally. But from my sense, yes and yes. And no to everything you've said.
Yes, no. And maybe?
And maybe as well, right? So for me, at least, from what I understand regarding the 5-MeO, is it transcends the mountain altogether. There's no up, down, there's no view anymore of the mountain.
Yes.
It's like, there's nobody to perceive the mountain even. It's just
no mountain.
At least I've had one experience with the 5-MeO. It was my first 5-MeO experience, where at the moment I didn't understand it. It kind of like took me all the way, what I would at least call all the way. And yes. I still don't know if it was just too much, and there was a blackout, basically. I blacked out, and some people say that's not appropriate, you're going to be aware of the experience, and other people, and the way I'm interpreting it now is that was exactly what was meant to happen. It's that space beyond, and it goes by many names, this para Brahman, the source, the beyond, nothingness, right? It's that space that is beyond all, So all of existence, all of consciousness, all of awareness is holding existence, is holding being itself. And then the transcendence of that inevitably has to be nothing. And language is very difficult here, but non-being, nothingness.
Yes.
It has to be beyond being and beyond consciousness itself. The source of all, the source of God, the source of creation and consciousness itself has to be outside of consciousness or something. So it relates a little bit, for people who are interested, relates a little bit to this concept of panentheism. So pantheism is basically saying all is God, and panentheism is saying all is in God. So all is God, all of creation is God, but still is the transcendent aspect to it. And from my 5-MeO experience, that's where, not very rarely, I've just had it once or twice maybe, where this 5-MeO took me into this, even on other high dose journeys, and it didn't take me there. It's like, that's where it eventually leads. And I am not sure if that's accessible through the LSD. I haven't accessed it, but there's definitely similar spaces in the LSD which people have accessed. One of my favorite books is LSD and the Mind of the Universe from Christopher Beisch. Highly recommend if you haven't read it. It's absolutely incredible. And he reported back from his life of journeying with LSD. So he chose LSD, especially because it was longer, especially because there was more room to work in the space. He said 5-MeO good and beautiful, but LSD, there's space to integrate it. He did like 40, 50, 60, I don't know, high dose LSD sessions of 70, 700, 800 mics or something.
Wow.
And it all in a very intentional setting, just to pierce deeper and deeper and deeper into this infinity.
Yeah.
And he reached similar states of what you named Godhead or infinity.
Not to the like first there's the bliss, and then you hit a peaceful stillness of the Godhead where there's no distinction, and then like you said, there's a void beyond that, and then a not even aware void like that. So he didn't reach that.
He might have peaked into that in some. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But towards the end of his journey, his language also failed. He called it diamond luminosity, and then he, in the later trip reports, he changed light to light in all capital letters. It's like, it's light, it's not light, it's light, all capital letters light. And then he reached and described similar spaces of shunyata as well in the Buddhist language. So and then there's an argument to be made that this is a proper longer space to work in that. I feel LSD has a different character to it, especially in the higher dosages. All the substances seem to have a different character that is emerging. So LSD is a different character somehow than 5-MeO DMT, but might get you to similar places. But with more, for me, it feels like it's with more content as well. The LSD is much more content of collective things and stuff and visions, and the 5-MeO is very empty. It's emptying out everything until there's nothing left. So it's kind of like different pathways, maybe to similar territories at times. And then there's a maybe last add-on. There is a interesting discussion or curiosity in the field about prolonging the 5-MeO DMT experience. So people are snorting it, people are plugging it, people are prolonging it by vaping more, or there's even, I don't know if there's research done, but there's definitely discussions in the field. There's a friend of mine, he's called Kyle Smith, and he's always asking about 5-MeO DMTX. So we have DMTX now, which is injected, and you have a constant influx of DMT, and you get these 30-minute, hour, 2-hour long, and then DMT peak breakthrough states. And then there's a potential for 5-MeO DMT to prolong that state as well. And I think it's already happening, and people are working on it, where you have hour-long 5-MeO DMT peak experiences, or nasal spray. There's 5-MeO nasal spray that's being developed, which is much more potent and longer, and stronger. Yeah, so we're getting there. It's
And you recommend I have a friend who it took, we tried MDMA and it was okay and much, but the 5-MeO got her there, and now she does the vape pen and does like you had said, like just little doses low during meditation, and you'd recommend that. Maybe even
I've tried that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's, I'll have to say that's just my personal experience, but maybe just a word of caution regarding the 5-MeO vape pens. So it's a very nice method, I find. It's very easy with different strength to dose into a higher territory to get a 1-hit, 2-hit breakthrough, or just to play around in the lower realms and try it for meditation. I found it, in my personal experience, to be helpful, and also to combine it with mantra practice or other spiritual practices is an interesting field. But for me personally, one is it's almost too easy. So there's a potential. I noticed the potential for, I wouldn't say abuse, but unconscious, irresponsible use. So it's easy just to then grab the vape pen and you're just vaping a little bit for your meditation. And then there's not even a dependency evolving, but it's just so easy to grab it, and then it gets put out of this sacred ritual container a little bit. And you use it like cannabis almost. You're just, instead of smoking a joint, you're just vaping a bit of 5-MeO and you're just flowing along in your meditation. And so that's a danger, I would say, or just something to be aware of when playing around with the vape pens. And the second thing I've noticed for myself is it's been only happening with the 5-MeO so far for me is it's kind of like so powerful that it does have its unique consequences for me. So 5-MeO is the only substance for me, for now at least, where I have prolonged after effects. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's definitely something to navigate, and to be aware of. So even though I did like
effects, like positive or negative?
Neither good nor bad. So for example, I vaped 5-MeO low doses for meditations, and then even throughout the week I went a bit higher. Recently I did like a whole week of 5-MeO journeys, and up and down, and higher doses and lower doses, and sometimes even just a couple of weeks off and then just a low dose. And I noticed like a day afterwards, 2 days afterwards, I noticed like something in my consciousness, it's different. It's I get these flashbacks, reactivations maybe sometimes. There's a rush of 5-MeO. I notice shifts in consciousness. I'm like, wow, okay, this is interesting. It wasn't particularly blissful or terrifying. It can be for some people, but I was just like noticing like, well, that's crazy. Like I just vaped a little bit of 5-MeO a day or two ago, and now it's coming into my normal state, and I feel uncomfortable. I feel afraid. I'll just have to sometimes just lay down, It's just like, and when that's happening while you're driving a car, then you want to be a bit aware, It's like you can drive to the sideways and just let that experience unfold and be aware that this can happen, and the substance is working through even days afterwards. A friend of mine also had a first experience, just a little bit of 5-MeO, and then for weeks afterwards, he's like, I hate this side effect. It just keeps coming back. It's distracting. I can't work anymore properly. It's like, but it's a potential. It's a potential to look into that, to work with that, to continue the consciousness work without the psychedelic, which many people are like, yes, that's what I want. And other people are like, wow, that's scary, because it breaks the illusion that I'm taking a substance, I'm getting high, I'm coming down, I'm back normal again, stable ego consciousness, It breaks that a little bit apart, and you're like, whoa, what's happening now?
It's the gift that keeps giving.
Yeah. So just a bit to be aware of regarding the 5-MeO vape pens, in my experience, at least.
Okay, this question, I have to just ask it. I don't want to ask it, but the DMT elves. I know there's all interest in this. To me, it would, to me, and I haven't tried the 5-MeO, but to me, I'm imagining that the elves are mind stuff that hasn't been nettied away and let go, like minds. It's still you have to get past that to the whole goal is the non-dual the surrender, and you haven't surrendered enough. So there's a little show going on, and here come these little balls that fall out and teach you things or something. What is your view? Are these things real? Not real? What? What is that?
You're asking wonderful questions. I love that.
It seems like to me, resistance with a little outfit on, like that trots out and says, "You don't want to give up? All right, here we are, and we're gonna come out and put on a show and give you wisdom and make you until you pop past that." Or maybe that's part of it's real.
Yeah, it's a good question, and
Have
there's
you
different
seen them?
ways. I have not seen them to
Okay,
the
you don't
detail
always
that
have to
many,
see them.
that many people are describing. So for me, there's so many ways to answer that question. Oh my God, I'll try to keep it short, not go on to 5 to 10 minute rant. So first of all, my personal experience, I'm not that big on entities. I was hearing about the elves and everything. I was like, and then when I was smoking DMT for the first time, I was like listening to too much Terrence McKenna. I'm like, where are the elves?
Yes, yes.
And then they didn't appear. I'm like, did I do it wrong? It's like, what's happening?
I only broke through to the non-dual space of pure imagination and God. I fucked up.
Yeah. So I'm not that kind of a visual person, and none of my psychedelic experiences, I don't have many visions or colors or entities.
Either.
Sometimes I do. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, there's some entities in the DMT space, or there's like some of these like spirals and some of this like showing stuff, and sometimes it's happening. Get it out. Yeah. So that's the second. That's the second question. Is then, is that wanted? Is that not wanted? And I guess it depends on your intention, as you said, right? You could have the perspective and intention of like non-dual breakthrough, universal oneness is the only goal. That's what I'm here for. That's where I want to come to. And eventually, maybe if you surrender enough, you'll get to that place, even though it happens apparently with 5-MeO more recently than with NNDMT, because the NNDMT seems to be full of entities and full of colors and geometric shapes for many people. And then there's a discussion around if it's real or not. So, right, there's again different layers of languaging that we can use to describe that. If we say mind at large, universal mind, then of course it's part of your universal mind in that sense. But if we go into other different dimensions and layers, and if we actually speak of a dual world, we might open up the possibility to talk about different realms and densities of experience and actual entities and aliens that are living in different dimensions, which we can visit and which we can communicate with. Eventually, it's all universal big mind, and it's all you, and it's the transcendent all is beyond all of this eventually. But maybe there's a reality to all of this, and there might be real entities. Or it's just all a hallucination, like whatever that word even means. Could also be, right? So we're just deceiving ourselves with natural substance called an NDMT. And the other way I wanted to express is that I was making this 3-hour-long presentation about psychedelics, and I got to this question, right? And I just wanted to answer this question. Is the psychedelic experience real or is it not real? Because there's at least it's a bit outdated now, but there is a sense of many people that say like, oh, that's not real. That's just a hallucination.
Just drugs.
And really, it's an interesting inquiry for everybody to just ask themselves, okay, what is real and what is illusionary? What does that even mean? What are we talking about when we talk about reality and illusion, when we talk about truth and falsehood? So what does that mean? And kind of like the conclusion that I came to for now, at least, is, right, either we'll have to say, and it's both, maybe, it's all Maya, it's all illusion, it's all appearances are illusions, right? So if that's this body, if that's this plant and this computer, that screen right in front of me, that's Maya, that's illusion. All perception is illusion, in a sense. and the truth is just, it's beyond that. It's this pureness of consciousness, or non-dual space and awareness that transcends duality. And when we talk about transcending duality, right, it's all truth. So there's a truth to all these experiences. So the experience of somebody in the psych ward having visions and the schizophrenic hearing voices and getting messages, or the DMT space with all the entities and the things, or just like the common sense ordinary consciousness, all of this is truth with a capital L, all of it, all of it. And then there's a discussion, maybe it's not all useful for building a coherent society and a culture and having a common language of navigating this crazy human life together. That's why we kind of like to push all of this away and say, like, this is our common sense, consensus reality, which we can navigate a bit like chaotically, but somehow it works. And all of this is just too crazy. But eventually, I would say in this non-dual space, either it's all Maya, it's all illusion, or it's all truth. And then there's a question, right, of integration, contextualization, discernment of, like, is this entity that I'm perceiving, because it's just a perception, and I can choose what to do with this perception and this appearance, right? Is it telling me the truth? Should I follow what it says? Is it deluding me? Should I really marry that person that this ayahuasca is telling me to marry or not? So that's still on us, that's still on us, kind of like to decide if what we do with the content of this craziness of the experience that is unfolding in Elfland or something.
That was beautiful. And I like that you said, is it useful? I think that's a big word there.
Yeah.
Is it useful? Do you feel sometimes like you have this journey, but then it's so profound that you start to realize that when it's not just the medicine, but when I go get coffee right now, I'm on the journey, and everyone's on the journey. And would you say it's effective or useful? I love that word, to see the waking life without the medicine as, all right, this one's having a bad trip over there, even though they're not. Because the medicine, it's like ego. Ego is like that's the real bad drug. Like the ego. So everyone's on the journey, and you could forgive easier. You could say they're having a bad trip and this one's having. Do you ever walk through life that way, in a way, and netty out and find what's useful as without the medicine? Like the world is medicine, and death, and a pet dies, or a goldfish, or someone breaks up, or we lose a job. That's all part of the big journey,
Yeah, it's part of the dance. I love the dance. I love the picture of the dance.
Yes.
And this whole
you had
life
a great
is a dance.
term on that, and I forgot it. Can you just give it something about a dance? You had the best.
Yeah, I call it the dance of detached appreciation. It's kind of like I don't know, it emerged when I studied all these mystical traditions and did my own practice and did the psychedelics and meditation retreats, and it's like that was kind of like something that was emerging for me, was this term, the dance of detached appreciation. And that's really kind of like the highest ideal that I'm pointing to, which is encompassing this practice, which transcends psychedelic space, obviously. As we said, the foundation has to be moment-to-moment awareness. It's not just the peak experience.
Not where's my pipe.
Yeah, exactly. But it's every moment, right? Every moment is a ceremony. Every moment is a journey. All of it, as you said, death can be a great teacher. Sickness is a great teacher.
Yes.
Having family is a great teacher. All of this is medicine and teaching, and my preferred way to navigate this is through the dance of detached appreciation. So the dance, I love the picture of the dance, the Shiva Nataraj, this whole the play, the lila, this whole creation is a dance of God, a dance of everything, and we are able to dance with reality. Actually, it's like not just physically, but somehow in every experience, in every psychedelic journey, and in every appearance of consciousness, I feel like the dance is the engagement with reality. So it's not an escape as well. It's a full engagement. And as Alan Watts, I think, said as well, right? The point of the dance is not to get to the end of the dance, but to enjoy the process of dancing, right? And be fully engaged in every moment of the dance. So this life is kind of like this dance that we're in here. And then the detached appreciation is kind of like the practice. The detachment is kind of like this sensation of selflessness, the core teachings of Buddhism and all of this, like, okay, attachment is the root of suffering. So we might want to detach from all appearances. So because as soon as we attach to one appearance or another, if that's the ecstatic orgasmic bliss in the psychedelic high, or if that's the death of a loved one, if we attach to that, we're suffering. So because then there's a me, there's an I want something, I have bias, I have preference, I don't want this to be this way, I want this to be that way.
That's perfect.
And the detachment is kind of like this practice of selflessness, emptying out, detaching from all appearances whatsoever. And then I was at this Vipassana retreat, and there's Goenka and the Vipassana tradition. In that retreat, they called it equanimity. They're like detached, equanimity. And I was like, equanimity feels a bit dry to me. So then the insight came for me is like, I would like to still gently like nudge my awareness and my consciousness to appreciate every appearance of reality. So not just to detach from it, but to love it unconditionally and fully, right? Yeah. So then there's just a pure love and a pure enjoyment and a pure appreciation for every appearance, no matter how dark it is, no matter how light it is, no matter how mundane it is, no matter how crazy it is. It's just this dance of detached appreciation. And then translating that into psychedelic space has actually been quite interesting for me. And I'm still not fully integrating this in my psychedelic practice, but then the insight came for me as well. Then the psychedelic space and the psychedelic experience, it's not even utilized for self-actualization and self-realization anymore, but it becomes a practice in and of itself. The psychedelic experience becomes a practice of detached appreciation, where I can gently nudge myself to detach from any appearance whatsoever, but appreciate it fully. It becomes a training ground for that. And then that means the psychedelic experience is not a means to an end anymore, but it's an end in and of itself, right? Just as meditation is an end in and of itself. You're not meditating to get something, but you're actually you're just emptying out, and so that was quite interesting to me. And then that obviously translates beyond the psychedelic space, the dance of detached appreciation, where you're like in everyday life, you're just dancing in detached appreciation.
It's such if Meister Eckhart could hear those words, I think he'd smile. Like it goes over all time. That's such a beautiful, the old mystics would like it, I think, and
that's where I got it from. It's just
it's so
echoing their words, and they have their own languaging around it, and it's that essence kind of like that permeates all of it.
Yeah, it touches deep. You could feel it deep. It's not just, it doesn't just go to the mind. It goes deep. So beautiful. So okay, so someone's watching right now, hearing all this, and they're like, do I take the medicine? Do I not? What do we tell them? What would you tell them? We can't really tell them right now how to get it. They'll figure that out. But say they have it, let's set the stage. Like, I always say, if you want a deer to come to you, or a beautiful animal in the nature, don't blast music and be loud and bang pot. You have to sit quiet in the yard or wherever you are in the forest. Set the stage. It's like if you had a blind date with the beloved, you put shades down. You don't have to put music on. You could just be quiet and it will come. So, and those are Jesus's words on how to pray, like shut the fuck up. We didn't say that, but he said, don't babble. find your inner room, shut the door, and the Father will come, those words, because it's already there. And so give me Vergo's advice for the first journey.
I can't, there is no right and wrong.
Sweep
right?
the temple, right? Sweep out.
Yes.
I loved all that on every level, social, Facebook,
yes.
whatever. Have no problem, clear it all out.
Yeah, so the preparation is the first step. And then I would say, right, there's no right and wrong, but it's kind of like it's an individualized connection to the divine. And
Right.
the setting is up to you to create of what resonates most for you. And what we can do is maybe just share like, hey, this hasn't been that appropriate for me, and this has been working really well.
Exactly.
Like maybe to be at a blasting music festival isn't the right place for a 5-MeO DMT breakthrough experience, but more like that closed room with some singing bowls might be more appropriate.
Not a bank or.
And still, some people are preferring the music festival, and maybe that's okay for them. Who am I kind of like to judge? But yeah, I guess the setting. So for me, it has been regarding the first journeys. It's a process of personal exploration on what suits best for you, and it's not just like I don't think you can't do it perfectly the first time. It's impossible to have it all perfect and figured out, and this is the way to do it. But it's about inquiring into your state of consciousness and your personal state, and say like there are many different metrics of like, okay, how safe do I want to be? How do I feel safer being alone by myself, nobody around? Or do I feel safer for the first time having somebody around? Who do I want to have around? Is it a friend who hasn't gone into psychedelic space at all, which might be a bit problematic for the reference and holding the space? Or is it somebody who's been giving ceremony for 20 years?
Yeah.
Right? And how are they giving ceremony? Everybody is giving ceremony differently. Some are doing it in silence. Right? All these ayahuasca traditions. Some are, the Uni Queen are playing guitar, dancing around the fire on ayahuasca. And some are just pitch black darkness, maybe some Icaro, like some here and there, like some whispering. Others are singing mantras during ayahuasca ceremony. So I would say it's worth exploring all of these and see how it feels.
Yeah, that's good.
Be open to all of these and see how it feels. For me, right, when we also especially talk with the lens of spiritual realization and getting to this non-dual space, I find for that the most effective, right, it comes on the intention as well, right? If you want to have fun and connect with people, then by all means, take some LSD at a festival. Maybe not for the first time, because it's intense, it's overstimulating to be there. I always like to get to know a substance by myself, alone, in a silent space, either in nature or in my room. And then it's up to you to construct that space. So I like to do eye mask and therapy playlists. So getting on the headphones, getting on the eye mask, it's two wonderful tools. And then it's just pitch black, and you don't hear anything from outside, and you can just journey deep, deep, deep inside.
No music?
A couple hours.
Do you start with a little music or no music?
Yeah, both. I do both. Sometimes this, sometimes that, sometimes a mixture of both. Especially I find for beginners, right? Also when we talk about, right, it's just like, oh, I'm too afraid. Then silence can be actually amplifying that fear and can actually drive you into very insane states of mind. And there's a potential for you to get lost in your mind a little bit more. So for that, some people might benefit from a very beautifully curated therapy playlist from John Hopkins, Mendel, Killeen, or something.
Yeah.
Right? There's some very beautiful playlists which I actually structured in a way. It's non-directive, not too much lyrics in the music, but they guide you gently through the phases of the journey, and it's something to hold on to, kind of. It's something it kind of like, and it's beautiful. And then silence is beautiful as well. But I find for silence, it's a bit more difficult to navigate. I had my first mushroom experience. 5 grams in silent darkness, alone at my parents' place when I was 16. and it was too much for me, you know. It was terrifying. I couldn't handle it. I could have used some music and some light and some support, you know. But I was like, no, 5 grams, it's silent darkness alone is the way to do it. So that's what I'm gonna do. And it freaked me out.
Maybe 2 grams in silent darkness to start.
Yeah, maybe a gram in nature
1
in
gram,
silence, and just hearing the birds and feeling the trees around. So I guess nature is also something.
Nature, I noticed a lot in nature.
Yeah, usually I do inside more than in nature, but Changa I like to do in nature. But nature, especially, also, it's beautiful. It's connecting, but it's just being aware of the consequences of your setting. So there's a more unpredictability in nature. Maybe a little bear comes around, maybe a little human comes around, you know, and you're like freaking out, like, what is this human doing here? Is he judging me? Is he watching me? Am I doing weird stuff with my body? Just screaming? Like, am I free to express myself fully in the container that I am in? Am I free to scream and to shout and to cry and to laugh? Maybe in a park, it's not that appropriate, right? So
have you had a bear?
It's all these considerations.
Show up?
No, never a bear. No, there was a boar once,
and I thought it was a dog. I said, "Wow, that's a big dog. That's the biggest dog." And then it went up and rubbed its back on the tree. I said, "That's not a dog."
Wow, that's scary. Wow.
Yeah, it was wild.
The adrenaline.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So, and then with all these considerations, right, it's up to you to choose. Take some responsibility, do some research, and then choose what feels best for you for your first experience. What feels most appropriate, most safe.
And you wouldn't say go. I think Martin in one of the podcasts said, I said, should you do MDMA first? You know, like we said, dip your toe in the water. And Martin was like, 5 MEO, first time.
Full dose.
Yeah, go right in, full dose. You say, it's all
also possible. I mean, why not? You know, it's possible.
Yes.
For some, it might be appropriate. Many do ayahuasca for the first time. It's their first substance ever, and it plays out beautifully. And some others freak out and they never recover. They have some mild PTSD from that experience. Can also happen, you know. It's just it's both. It can happen.
So then we won't speak yet about you hinted at it a little bit, this advanced astonishment state where we can't even speak about it, but some people, as you know, and I think you speak about this, get hooked on that bliss, and they get hooked on the big cosmic cuddle, and it's so good, and they want that peak experience, you know, and they chase it. I know I chased it for a little while. It might be part of, you know, you want to get back there, like Jim Carrey said when he first experienced it. And he said, and then I spent years trying to get back there, you know, and you want it back, and it's not always. So what do you say to someone that maybe they keep chasing this because it's so beautiful, you know? Is that just part of the process?
For many, it is. Yeah. I would say it's a trap.
It's a trap. Yeah.
It is a trap because it's attachment. You know, it's attachment to a particular state of consciousness.
Yeah.
Which then brings in bias and judgment. You're saying this is better than this.
Yes.
And so you're in the illusion, you're in the delusion, you're in suffering. You're not where you're supposed to be because you want to be there and not here. And that's just plain. Well, it's you can choose to perceive it that way, but I've not found it very helpful.
You talked about the ego coming back online, you know, like right after, and then it gets puffed up, you know, and sometimes it's sad because you're not back in that. It's not all fairies and rainbows. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, you got to pay a bill, and you're in a job you don't like. You know, you got to dig your way out still. So.
Yeah. Right. Another trap. And it's full of traps, and it's not just the psychedelic journey, but it's commonly known in many spiritual traditions that all of these are traps. Like there's many scriptures pointing exactly that out, that at one point, even in the gradual path of your meditation practice, you'll get to a point where you have a Satori experience, you glimpse this non-dual, and you get attached to it. It happens to everybody, almost. Maybe to everybody. And it's a common appearance on the path of all people. And
do you remember that Alan Watts, Ram Dass story where I think Ram Dass tells the story, they're in like a cave or a monastery in France at 3 a.m. and Ram Dass is going on and on like what you just said. And Alan Watts just said, because his Richard Alpert, he called him Dick, and he said, Dick, you're attached to the emptiness.
I remember that. I remember that.
That was a great one. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And eventually you got to transcend that as well.
Yeah.
And you even talked about another trap and danger, right? It's like, I feel like the psychedelic path is full of traps and dangers, and it's not talked about enough. There's an overemphasis almost on the potential good sides of it, which is nice. It brings this cultural shift into perspective, but now it's like keeping the balance a little bit and saying like, whoa, okay. Right, as you said, the ego is coming back online, and then sometimes there's a tendency for the mind then to even attach to the memory of the bliss and even take pride in the bliss. Like, I have experienced more bliss than you, you know? It's like, I'm more spiritual than you are because I've had this peak experience. And now I'm judging you for being not as compassionate and spiritual and humble as I am. And it's like, it's this whole game of like spiritual grandiosity, spiritual narcissism. And it's seen everywhere, and especially with the psychedelics, they kind of like amplify that ego inflation or the potential for ego inflation, and it's just what's happening, and it's good to be aware of that and say like, okay, this is the teaching as well. It's been one for me as well, right? Attaching to the bliss, attaching to the memory of the bliss, you know. It's like, I wish I would want that back, you know.
It hardens, and I think that's what in Christianity, when they say, like, don't make an idol of it, and Buddha, same thing. Like those Zen masters will pee on the Buddha outside, you know, like and the student will say, "What are you doing?" And they'll just turn and pee on them, like it's that's just a statue. There's a poem, beautiful poem, out of the eye, like of the big statue of the Buddha, out of the eyes. Sparrows flew, so they just saw a nest in the eye. They didn't think of it as the almighty Buddha. It was a good place to make a nest, you know? So don't make an idol, you know, let it get hard, and then it becomes a concept, and then you're screwed.
Exactly.
Off at that point. It's worse.
Exactly. Yeah, you can be lost in spiritual delusion forever. It's a very nice illusion to be in, you know. You just have survival and identity and ego with a spiritual flavor. It's popularized by Instagram now. Now it's trendy, you know, to be spiritual, and then you build this whole character that's spiritual, and you're like, wow, and you get attached to that, or you get attached to the psychedelic identity. It's been happening to me. That's why now I'm taking a break from psychedelics. I'm like,
that's great. Yeah,
idea crossed my mind. I'm like, I got to take a break of psychedelics because of my health situation and my body. I want to take care of my body more. And then I was like, maybe I take a break of psychedelics for a year. And then my mind came in. I'm like, no, we can't do that. You know, what about this? What about the channel? What about my identity? Everything I've built on is about psychedelics. And I'm like, exactly, that's what I need to do. You know, it's like, always go where it's uncomfortable, because the spiritual process is kind of like a process of humility, self-annihilation, dying before you die, right? Ripping it all apart. Nitty, as you said. Not this, not that.
I love that. So I have friends, I don't know if you started out, because you took them really young, but I think everyone goes through an atheist or skeptic, maybe phase, even not everyone, but a lot. And I was a big skeptic, and I studied with the biggest skeptic in the world, and it was all, and we were with Richard Dawkins and Isaac Asimov and Carl Sagan, and we knew, and you really think you know. So what do we tell our atheist friends that are smart and good-hearted? They're really good heart. Like, I had a good heart as an atheist. I'm not like a bad guy. I was a good guy, And the atheist, in a sense, sees through the separate, like God isn't a separate thing up away from me in the sky far away. That's what I thought Christians believed in. You make this straw man God. And so what would you say to the really smart atheists that they're loving philosophy and Neil deGrasse Tyson,
Yeah.
How do we get to that guy or girl?
This is great. Two sides to this as well.
Yes.
So for me, as you said, I never went through this atheistic phase, really. I started pretty young. I had a short phase. I had a very short phase where I transitioned. I was growing up Christian in a beautiful, small evangelical Baptist church. And then when I was 14 or... Yeah, in Germany. Yeah, and it was nice. It was really blessed upbringing,
Yeah.
But then at 14, 15, I started to think for myself. I'm like, what is this? What am I believing? And I got into philosophy first, especially existentialism and nihilism.
That'll do it.
Not a good thing to get into at 15, as a teenager. It's been dark, angst, depression. It's just like being a bit. Yeah, no, but this started the process. And then very quickly, I kind of like figured like these people that I'm studying and reading, they're not happy. I'm not happy. They went insane. I went insane. Like, I don't know. I'm depressed, suicidal. I don't know if that's the way. And then it slowly transitioned into, what's it called? Optimistic nihilism or something.
That's good.
And then it transitioned. I'm like, oh, these Zen Buddhist people, they seem to be quite happy. There's the Ram Dass, Alan Watts. I'm like, these people seem to be the bhakti, the yoga. It's like, and then I transitioned quickly into studying that.
That's great.
And found my path. But for the people who are into this frame of being atheist, again, I can't speak from personal experience because I haven't been locked into this frame of mind for too long. But there's, again, a couple things that I could maybe share or appeal, right? One is like, what are you caring about, right? Do you care about truth, or do you care about holding on to a specific kind of belief system, right? Because even atheism is a belief, right? You believe that there's no God.
But I hated that. I hated hearing that as an atheist.
Oh, yeah.
It would make all anger come up, right? And then especially when they said atheism is a religion, like I worship the nothing or something, bothered me so much. But you're right.
Yeah, what's that about? Look at that.
Yeah,
what's triggering that? Where's that perspective coming from? And
that's good.
What's it giving you? And I guess an appeal to open-mindedness is always good. And especially if you want to know, then I'm sure Martin has said this, go for the 5-MeO-DMT breakthrough experience.
Yes, challenge yourself once, right?
Then see what happens.
And if you're such a scientist.
Exactly. There's studies happening right now, latest psychedelic research. It's not all of them, but it's a huge chunk. I think it was 60-70% of people who went through the 5-MeO-DMT experience. They're shifting their belief system from more of atheism to pantheism or panentheism, to at least recognizing the reality of a divine something. Maybe they haven't figured it out, but and some don't. Some stay with this. Yeah, exactly. But go challenge yourself.
To be wrong about death. It's really good. Like it's so. One day when my dad was like 85 years old, and he had a debt, and I kept trying to give him this, but you can't. He was like Tony Soprano, like a tough mafia kind of dad from Brooklyn, New York, and from the streets, and couldn't understand. But one day, and it was so perfect, he he showed me his bedroom curtains, and he needed like new shades, and he thought he had to spend this exorbitant, this big amount of money. And I said, no, you could do that for like $50. You're wrong. Like the guy at the store was trying to play you to make you, and he goes, really, I'm wrong? And it saved the money. So being wrong was good, right? So he likes that result. Then he thought he wanted some Colombian chicken or Brazilian chicken from this place, and he called, but he's impatient, and they didn't answer fast enough. So he hung up and he said, they're not open. So I called and let it ring 12 times, and they were open. And I said, Dad, twice you're wrong. And look, now you're going to get the chicken. I ordered it. So you got the curtains for $300 less because you were wrong. You got the chicken because you were wrong. It's coming, 2 of them. And I said, and you're wrong on this. On that. I said, it's good to be, and he didn't understand. He goes, what is he talking about? He didn't understand.
This is where many draw the boundary. Like, I could be wrong about the chicken, but my belief of reality, like, that's what I want to hold on to.
Yes. And so big.
Right? You can't make anybody change, right? That shift of perspective has to come from the inside. It has to come from somehow, from a direct experience. I would even say, right? It's good to frame and to contextualize and to be in the concepts and to philosophize and understand. But even that can be a trap, to understand too much of reality, and then you're just like, that's what many philosophers are doing, just lost in the mind. Just like it's an endless circle, it's like you're just circling around in this maze of your mind and trying to figure out reality and what's true and what's not. But the emphasis on direct experience is missing. The emphasis on bodily practices, extreme sports, running a marathon, doing a meditation retreat, just like look at your direct experience without any stimuli and without this crazy mind stuff running around all the time. And then see if there's something there. And if not, cool.
You're right. You're not ready. You're saying if you're not ready, you're not ready. When you're ready, like Alan Watts loves to say, and he says it so not cockily, like so confidently, like when you're ready to wake up, you wake up, and that's it. Like, and I'm sure that rubs people wrong, but he's right, and he does that laugh after, when you're ready, you're ready, and when you're not, you have to be ripe. You have to be ready to. Can't yell at the fruit to be ripe.
Oh yeah, I love that.
But it's a lot of people I run into. It's good sometimes to take them down the intellectual map, because it's basically airtight. Like I've had atheists say, I can't argue with you. Like I have no comeback, but they still can't make the jump, but they don't have an answer to it. It's so airtight and so perfect. I mean, you can give them that, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about arguments. I'm not that good at debating. So sometimes somebody
drink this and be quiet.
But debating might be a way. And what else did I want to say? There's something else, but I forgot. No, it's gone. Right? If you're serious, you're gonna try out different practices. Right? If you're serious about knowing truth, then you got to try out stuff and see what's there. And also, that's what I wanted to say. It's the pendulum swing, right? It's good, as you said, to have this mind stuff going well, to study a bit in university or something, to have like some solid frameworks. Because the other thing, it's again, this balancing point, middle way, small path in between, because sometimes also in the spiritual communities, people are just like direct experience, trusting, I don't want to understand anything, just quiet the mind.
It sounds
and then there's just like
far.
absolute stupidity going around, just like believing in absolute insane stuff, conspiracy theories, running around, just like not making any sense of reality, not using the mind at all, and then framing that as truth or spirituality. And that's like, I don't know if that's the way either, maybe take a bit of this like atheistic overemphasis on the mind and integrate that. Yeah.
Like Thomas Merton said, you ever read him?
Yeah, yeah, really touched me.
Oh,
I
great. He's
read,
right
I
there.
read
He's
Contemplative Prayer. Yeah,
Yes. And
yeah.
he said, as a priest and a mystic, he said, Catholics could use a little more Zen to sound less ridiculous. And
Exactly,
you need
right?
that
That's what
balance. I
he
love
did.
that.
He's like, he's open to it. He's having
Yes.
conversations with the Zen masters and it's
Yeah.
like, and still sticking to his faith, but taking it
Yes.
on and
Yeah, he
giving
took on the
perspective.
Sufis and the Zen, and he loved it all. D.T.
Yeah,
Suzuki was one of his best friends.
yeah, yeah.
And there's a
It's
great
wonderful.
story. I don't know if you know, it's so great though. He finally got permission, which is so silly, to leave Gethsemane and fly to go see the Dalai Lama and Trungpa and Thich Nhat Hanh. He met everybody, and he flew over to Asia, and they write about it like they took him up, and one guy, this little Asian guy, said, "Yeah, we took him up," and he named the guy. I can't remember the name. Way up in the mountains, and that guy zapped him with some tea. And to me, that he gave him the medicine. I don't know if he did
Mm.
or not. Maybe it was just tea, and tea does it too. Who knows? But
Who
it was like a
knows?
good. He said he zapped him, and then Merton looked at these big statues, the long 80 foot or 100, and that's when he had a total transcendent, and then died over
Mm,
there.
mm. No, I
But
haven't heard that story. I like that.
yeah, zapped. I'll send it to you. Like
Yeah.
those little, especially in the 60s, you have to say zapped. And Thomas Merton, I have him on Audible, on audible.com. They have like the recorder was new, like the small recording device. And he was so
Mm.
excited to use it, like it was like AI to him. And he recorded 7 hours on the Sufis and this. He would talk to the novices, and they're so good. So many hours of Merton, and in one time, and I've never heard it again. I've never read it, but one time, I can't say the talk. He said, "If you can get your hands on LSD, get it and put it in a little tin cup, put it away somewhere in the cat, because one day you're not going to be able to. It's going to be illegal." And it was legal then. And he actually
Wow.
said it, and he not secretive, like he just said, because there was no taboo.
Mm. Mm. Wonderful. I have to listen to those talks.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad you got the book. I love you turn and see
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
I'm
book
always
is
looking
there.
at this big bookshelf. I'm
Yes,
like, where is it?
he's up there.
And
Contemplative
and
prayer, was it, or
yeah,
centered prayer?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was it. And it really took me back to my spiritual emergency, to this
Yes,
5-MeO DMT after integration. It took me right back when he
that's
talked
good.
about this, the darkness, like tears flowing down my eyes, and then
Ah,
just
oh, it's
recognizing the
amazing.
truth of what he's expressing. Wow. Yeah. Really,
And what
really
would you
good.
say to someone? I run into this all the time. I'm scared to take the. I know you're right. I know you're right. I know this is it. This is it. But and I'm drawn to it, but I'm scared because I won't love. Maybe I won't love my kids anymore. Maybe I'll go to India. Maybe like they're scared what will come, like because they see that maybe I gave everything up and a lot of people gave everything up. But you don't have to you have to give up, like you said, the attachment to the thing. You could have. Look at
Yeah.
Osho. He had watches and Rolls Royces. He just wasn't attached to them.
Yeah.
What do you say to that person? They're afraid, maybe I'm not going to have sex anymore. Maybe I'm not going to find love anymore. Maybe my children. And I say, no, you love them more.
Well, and if so, and if so,
Yeah, I love that.
so be it. What do
Yeah.
you want? You want illusion or truth? It's like,
Yes, yes.
what are you afraid of? What is it going to show you that's not true? Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
like, right.
Take a
So
shot.
yeah, right. And then I guess it's okay not to be ready as well. It's okay not to
Yes.
take it. It's okay to choose to stay in illusion. That's something that I have come to learn and appreciate as well. That many people, many people, are not ready. They don't even value truth. They don't want truth, and that's okay.
That's heavy stuff.
They really enjoy. They don't enjoy, but they're really they just want to stay in the suffering of illusion.
Self-flagellation. Self-flagellation.
Absolutely okay. Like I'm not here,
okay.
as you said, it's not ripe yet or something. And that's totally okay. But then if you have the curiosity, I would be curious, what's that about? There's some openness. There's something, maybe there's something there, but I'm afraid. Then I would say go for it, because then you're already open. There's something you're like, what is it? There's something more to life. Maybe I don't have to be attached to my kids.
Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe.
Yeah. There was also this great story, as you said, about the kids and being afraid of not loving your kids, and eventually maybe you'll love them more, right? But there was a story in Spiritual Materialism, Trungpa Rinpoche. He said, right, some kind of Tibetan teacher or master, he had a son, and then his son died. And he was angry, and he was stashing around, he was crying, and he was hitting his students or whatever. And then they're like, Master, like, why are you so angry? Why are you so sad? Isn't the death of your son also samsara? And he's like, no, this is super samsara.
That's super samsara. That's great.
It's like, I still feel these emotions. I'm still angry. This human body is still acting out, and that's samsara. But okay, And eventually, then he found his, the son is coming. He's dying, and so it was as if he's never been there. So, and keeps on living his life. But in that moment, why not be angry and afraid and all these human things? It's okay. It's not a way to suppress everything. It's like, I have to be, right? This conception again of I have to be in this blissful, orgasmic, ecstatic state all the time. And that's true spirituality. And me being angry or ashamed or sad is not true spirituality. That's like, it's also kind of like a false frame of mind. As you said, it's not about attaching to any of these appearances and these emotions, and obviously go learn and do some emotional mastery, just like handle yourself well and be compassionate human being and be kind.
And that's where the Stoics could help. Like, if you don't want to take the medicine, you can go into a little Stoicism. But I've had, I know a girl who said, I'm not giving my emotions up. I like them. And I'm like, yeah, but they're ruling you. You're sad. It's like, and I'll bring up, so the Rhineland mystics would be right there by you in Germany. Oh, we froze. I don't know. Mm-hmm. The Rhineland, what Meister Eckhart.
Yeah, now you're back.
Oh, good. Was Meister Eckhart, like you mentioned earlier, Thaler, I think, and Rusbrook, and then there was one called Henry Suso, and he's my favorite. Mm-hmm. Like, Eckhart's my favorite, but Suso's fun because he wore a shirt with 151 nails pointing into his chest. And I think it's my side. It just said unstable. Thank you, Guatemala.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all good.
151 nails pointing in to his chest. Like, he'd wear it. And he'd carry a cross and shove it he'd put it into his shoulder. He just wanted to suffer like Jesus because he didn't feel worthy. And then one day in meditation, it said, what are you doing, Henry? Stop. And he stopped sleeping on a bed of nails and putting nails in, and he stopped. And it's just like a self-torture, when you're ready to wake up, you wake up. When you're ready you can make your bed in heaven or you can make your bed in hell. It's your choice. That's how beautiful this divine space is. It lets you be a total idiot. You want to punch yourself, you could punch yourself. You could burn the flag in America. I'm free. You could do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the Stoicism is a good way to get into this more balanced state of mind and more balanced state of being. Yes. And again, if you don't want to do psychedelics, what about other practices? Are you curious about those, or is that also too much? You know, because
Yeah.
there's beautiful consciousness expanding practices, doing extreme sweat lodges, temazcal,
Yes.
ice bath, prolonged, right, the holotropic breath work. I don't know. I'm looking at darkness retreats now. I haven't done one, but I'm really curious about them. You know, there's good
Yeah.
practices out there. Hiking up a mountain, doing a vision quest, fasting. What about all these things? At least to get a little bit of a glimpse of what different states of consciousness are like.
Yeah. Take a little walk and start to notice that, like you're saying, there's a flyer up on the wall there and it says, oh, there's a practice and you can go join, or there's a retreat, and you could go back to your bed of nails, or you can go, it's all like an olive branch. The universe is always,
Yeah,
you'll run
yeah,
into a taxi driver or someone that says, you know, this is what I do. I love Sufism, or I love, and it's up to you.
yeah. And there's this parable of the two arrows as well, right? From Buddha. I
Yes.
think is Buddhism, right? The first arrow, it's like you're hit by the first arrow and you're like, oh, that hurts. You know, and that first arrow is inevitable, he says. That's the death of a loved one. You experience some
Suffering.
trauma as a child, something happens, sickness comes, whatever, you know, and it hurts. It hits and it hurts. And then the second arrow comes in at the same place, and it's like, does it hurt more? He said to the students, and the students said, yes, the second arrow hurts more, obviously. It's like, that's your reaction to the first one. You know,
Yes. Yes.
that's how you handle the first one. It's like
That's
you get angry about it, you get attached to it, you're like suffering. That's your suffering, basically.
that's great.
And we can avoid the second one. We can learn to free
Yes.
ourselves from the second one.
Pain and suffering. Suffering is
Mm.
optional. Optional.
Suffering is an interesting word. I don't even know if it's
Yeah.
optional. It seems like one of the greatest accelerators on the path.
I
It's a
love that.
beautiful practice, actually.
Yeah. The best teacher, wonder, or like you said earlier, curiosity or suffering. Either of those are
Mm.
powerful medicine.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking of anyone else who's watching. All right, they're ready to take it. Now they know, sweep their temple, clean out their problems, take it with a sitter or take it alone, be in the right state, be open. Don't bring you ever hear that little story? You don't take I guess in the old days they said camel, but now it would be car. You don't drive your car through the front door, you park it and you leave it, and then you walk through the front door. Like leave
Yes.
that, leave
Yeah.
everything
Put
behind.
the backpack down.
Yes,
You know.
yes, the raft. I used to
Yeah.
carry a backpack full of books as an atheist, and magic, as I was a sleight of hand. So I had magic and 20 books. It was so heavy. And one day I was like, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" Right? And then you lighten it. You start to let go. All right, which
Mm.
book do I need? Do I need one?
Mm.
Until you realize it's all inside.
I like that. I'm still holding on to the books.
Yes. Yeah, but you're not attached.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I
They're
am,
fun
kind
to
of.
go to a few, maybe, right?
Yeah. It's like, no, don't take this Bible, don't take the scripture.
Yes, yes. Not my Merton.
That's the ultimate test.
Yes. I let go of about 5,000 in New York. I just left them in the house and
Wow.
sold the house. And everyone was like, well, you could sell the books to make money. I was like, no, because they were
Beautiful.
upstairs and if I had to move them, they could have went through the stairs. And I was just like, no, I'm done. And Kindle is a nice friend, the Kindle.
It is.
So okay, I always ask, my last thing would be, you have 5 minutes in an airport or a bus stop and someone says, Vergo, and they grab you. Help me. I've seen you online. I know you do it. Like, you have 5 minutes. You can't give them the medicine. What would you say? 5 minutes. Like, I want what you got. I want what you're having. Like, I want that. what would you say?
You've got it.
That's good. Yeah, but that's too, that's too easy.
It's too easy. No.
You're already there.
Uh,
You're done.
yeah. No, I
Oh,
hate
that's
these
part of it.
hypothetical questions. I absolutely don't like them because I feel like there's no universal answer,
Yeah.
right? So how I would spend the 5 minutes is do a mini coaching session and figure out what you want. It's like,
Oh, that's good. You would
right.
probe
So
them. You'd probe
I
them.
would mirror back, empty myself
That's
out. I
great.
have no advice for you. It's just okay. I'm here to help you. So what do you want?
Oh, I
So
love that.
let's start there. What would you like to get out of these 5 minutes? Let's spend 2 to 3 minutes preparing the last two.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
then okay, what would a successful outcome of these 5 minutes look like for you? What is it you actually want? And how would that outcome feel for you? How could you tangibly measure the outcome? Is it peace? Is it satisfaction? Is it something material? It's like let's move through this. And what do you think you need to address or resolve in order to
Yes.
get that thing that you want? And then let's figure out that thing together and start planning some small little action steps that you can do.
That's
Right.
great.
And then walk off and walk your journey. I can't walk your journey for you.
No, no.
And
And
I'm not here to give you the answer because I have absolutely no clue what's going on.
and when I looked at your site, maybe before you go, the thing that struck me the most outside of all the wisdom there was there are many like you could take a session where I could be wrong, like 16 in a row or something. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mhm.
You could take a night.
Yeah.
You don't want one. It's not, you need to really. So can you describe that? It would be like you sign up for this and you get what?
Exactly. Yeah, I love to do coaching. It's a wonderful process. I really fell in love with the art of coaching, and as you said, I don't like to offer one session because
Yeah,
in one session it's like we get to know each other. Like we're
yeah.
starting. I want to know who you are. What is your life about? What are you struggling with? What's your vision? What do you want? And how can I help you do that? You tell me, it's like, and not I tell you. So and then we can partner together to get you there more effectively and more easily and work deeper into these limiting beliefs and assumptions and gremlins and fears that are holding you back from getting what you want. So actually, I see coaching, right? For example, the 8 or 16 session package,
Yeah.
and I see it. It's a prolonged psychedelic ceremony almost. That's
Yeah.
why I love coaching so much and why it resonates so much with me. I almost see myself as a psychedelic substance.
I
So
love it.
sometimes the psychedelic is giving any teaching or a nugget of wisdom or something, or giving you something that's like showing you something, raising awareness about your situation. But mostly it's an empty mirror. It's just bringing out and exploring what's already within you. And then you bring that out to the surface, you look at it and you work with it and you figure out what you want to do. And then again, I can't walk that journey for you. In between the sessions, I can hold you accountable. I can be there for you, check in with you. How has that been working out? We can extract learning and insights from these action steps that you took in getting you where you want to be. And that's about it. But usually it starts with creating a vision for yourself. So yeah, it's really this empty mirror and empty facilitation of your unique process and your unique thing. And then with a little bit of teaching here and there, but mostly it's not about me. It's just about you. It's a process about you, and solely about you. And many people who come to me, they don't even know what they want. So that's the starting point. It's like,
That's great.
let's figure
Yeah,
out who you are and what you want. What's most important to you in life? What are your values? What's your vision? Where are you going? Like, what do you want to do with your life? And then how can you do that? Right.
I love that.
And
I always
then
see
we
that
walk that journey together.
like the heart is like a safe, and you have to crack it, and you have to be this safe cracker, and you click the numbers, and you're listening. Oh, okay, 32, and everyone has a different combination, and you have to, be a master of that and listen
Exactly.
for. That must be.
Yeah.
And do you encourage them to take some medicine during or after the 16 or?
No, usually, well, I don't encourage taking medicine at all, right?
Right.
If somebody is coming, and as we said in the early in the conversation, if somebody's having this authentic curiosity, then by all means,
Yes.
right? We can talk about that. I don't want to facilitate crimes. That's not
Right.
something that I can legally do now, but that's what I'm careful with. But usually the people who come to me are just like, we're on the same wavelength already because they're working with psychedelics. They're already curious about the space. And so it's basically just an attraction magnet for the deep personal work that we're doing in this space. And then if somebody's coming out of a psychedelic journey as well, it's like, okay, I've had this crazy experience. How can I integrate this? Right? My first client, he was doing ayahuasca a lot, and it's like we literally worked on cleaning up his house. It's like that's integration. That's usually what it comes down to. It's not about this crazy mystical thing and over intellectualization of the divine, but it's about like, how does your space look? What's your communication with your loved ones like?
Yes.
What do you want to do for work? How do you want to give back to the world?
That's
what
beautiful.
you've seen. And that's the real work, and then we can do that together. And to have somebody there, I find, just for myself personally with my coaches, it's just invaluable. It just makes the journey so much more effortless and raises the self-awareness to such a degree that it's just beautifully, because it's an investment in yourself. You're facing yourself basically, just like you do in a psychedelic journey.
That's great.
And the more you invest, the more seriously you take the process as well, right? Not wanting to get the answer from somebody else, but you invest in yourself. You invest in your process. You take it seriously enough. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's like what you're saying about the mirror. I like that as you approach the mirror, you're approaching yourself. Like, so if you want to back up 2 steps, all right. And when you put in, I know you can go right up and bang, get,
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful.
Exactly.
Thank you, Vergo.
It's this dance. Thank you so much.
Yes. Give me the dance term again.
The dance of detached appreciation.
Yes. So good. You should write that book. That's a book.
I'm gonna write a book about this one day. I'll go onto retreat and practice in a body a bit more for a couple years, maybe decades, and then the book will come. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'll put a link in the description of where people can go to get a nice 16 in a row real study of this. And I hope we alleviated some of their fears. I think you did. It's not easy getting up the summit of Everest. It's not easy, but also everything's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the core. Everything is okay already. Always has been, always will be. And thank you for facilitating that conversation. And thank you, everybody, for listening till the very end. Much appreciated. And I hope you could take some value out of this.
Thank you. You were amazing.